Good afternoon, and welcome all to the Get Outdoors PA webinar called Using Social Media to Promote Your Outdoor Recreational Programs. My name is Samantha Holbert, and I'm a consultant for the Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society, hired to assist in the development of the Get Outdoors PA program. With me on the webinar today are our panel of experts, Brittany Howell, the Communications Specialist from the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Brittany, you want to say hi so they hear your voice?
Hi, I'm Brittany from the Game Commission.
And Mary Linkovich, the Director of Communications and Grants for Hawk Mountain Sanctuary.
Hi, everybody.
And Kirsten Werner, Director of Communications as well, of the Natural Lands Trust.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Great. And we've got Emily Gates from PRPS, who's on the technical side of the call. Emily, do you want to say hello as well?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today.
Great. So we'll be going through some slides on the screen and discussing the content. You can ask questions using the chat function in the lower left-hand corner of your screen throughout the session, and we'll provide responses to your questions during the session or at the end. We'll have a question and answer section as well where you can ask questions to specific presenters if you would like. So we will move on to an overview of Get Outdoors PA. For those of you who may be new partners or not partners at all and just curious about Get Outdoors PA, we are a statewide program created by flagship partners, Pennsylvania's DCNR, Department of Health, the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, Pennsylvania Game Commission, Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society, and the Pennsylvania Land Trust Association. We're a statewide program designed to increase outdoor recreation opportunities in local and state parks, lands and forests, or privately preserved open spaces through programming by recreation partners. And our recreation partners are our flagship partners and then our community partners, who are municipalities or groups of municipalities, a county or a private nonprofit that provides programming for the community benefit. And a partner can act as a host of a program and be the liaison between the community and programs of Get Outdoors PA. This webinar is intended for current partners or partners that are interested in joining on. And we're hoping that you develop a comfort level with using social media to promote your outdoor recreational programming. So we're going to move on to defining social media. Social media is basically a network, forms of electronic communication through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content, which includes videos. So we're going to start now with a little interactive opportunity. On your screen, on your computer screen, you will have the opportunity to fill out a poll. This is new. We have not done this on one of these webinars before, so we're going to try this out. It's an interactive opportunity. We want to know what social media sites you use. So we're going to give you about 20 seconds to complete. So go on to the screen and use your cursor and click on the social media platforms that you currently use. And this is professionally, not personally. So you or your organization use. And then we're going to tally up the results here in just a couple of minutes. Okay, it looks like almost everyone has completed the poll. And so we're going to show the results here in a couple of minutes. And actually, we're going to then talk to our presenters and have them discuss what platforms they use and why. So Emily, if you want to go ahead and show, display the results. There we go. Facebook, 94%. Twitter, is up there. YouTube is up there pretty well too, 56%. So that's great. LinkedIn, Instagram. That's great. That's interesting because I had some difficulty finding a lot of partners that were using Instagram when I was calling and talking to different people who do this for a living. So that's great. So now why don't we move on to our panelists. Brittany, why don't you tell us what the Game Commission uses in terms of media platforms and why?
I'm Brittany from the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and we currently use Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I would say our largest audience is on Facebook. We find that we are able to provide more educational content on Facebook with a little bit of a longer format of text there than on Twitter. But Twitter is a great way to get news out quickly, and it tends to be a little bit of a more news-oriented audience for us.
Great, Brittany. Thank you. Mary Linkovich from Hawk Mountain, how about you?
At Hawk Mountain, we're similar to Brittany. Facebook by far is our biggest following. And I will say that we have a presence on many of the others, but we simply aren't active. So for us, definitely the Facebook and the YouTube are the biggest.
Okay. And Kirsten, last but not least.
Yeah, hi, this is Kirsten from Natural Lands Trust. Definitely echo what Brittany and Mary said. Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla, and we definitely spend most of our social media energies on that channel. We do have a presence on Instagram, on Twitter. We do have a presence as well, and we automatically link our Facebook posts to Twitter. And then we actually use something also called meetup.com, which is not a dating website. We can talk about that later if folks are interested, to showcase and announce events.
Okay, great. And you'll see on your screen now that these are statistics for online adults. 71% use Facebook, and then we have almost an equal number using Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and then 23% using Twitter. So as we've heard, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram is bypassing Twitter. But there are purposes and opportunities and times when it's best to use these other platforms. So we're going to talk to our panel here. Why do you use social media? There are a couple different reasons here that our speakers will talk about. Mary, why don't we start with you? Why do you use social media?
Well, for Hawk Mountain, it's such a great way to have an immediate interaction with our followers, and especially for nature events, we can easily and quickly and at no cost share what's happening, especially with migration, if it's a good migration day, weather forecasts. I mean, people want to know this information. They want to know it right away. So that's a great tool for us. And I'd say that's probably the top reason that we quickly became such heavy Facebook users, but it's also helpful to arm our followers with information that then they can share, and they're helping to promote Hawk Mountain too. That's
great. That's helpful. Kirsten?
Yeah, a Natural Lands Trust policy on Facebook is why not? It's free except for a little bit of staff time. It's easy. It's an opportunity to engage with new audiences, but also to kind of slowly craft and shape our brand image. I'm using air quotes when I say that. And actually, as Brittany was saying, also expand, or sorry, as Mary was saying, expand, letting folks share what we've shared, which really kind of exponentially spreads the message.
That's great. Brittany?
I think it's a great way to be able to share reminders. For us, that would be either hunting reminders of a season that's coming up, or to buy your license, seasonal bird migrations, and that sort of thing. It's a great way to reach out directly to the audience that is interested. They've already liked your page. They want to know more about what kind of updates you can share with them. So I really like that direct communication. And as the others have mentioned too, that immediate feedback is a really great form of communication that social media provides.
Right, and Brittany, as you said, and as you can see, we've got a screenshot here showing reminder for for Life Vest. That was something that was posted on Get Outdoors PA through the Fish and Boat Commission. So why would you use social media instead of or in addition to traditional marketing? What's the benefit? Brittany, do you want to start first?
Sure. Again, I guess I'd kind of repeat, for us the biggest part is just that there is that two-way dialogue. It's also that you can get the word out there really quickly. For example, whenever we had that Eric Frayne search, when all of the police authorities were out there looking in the wooded areas, we actually needed to close down hunting seasons for a little while so that they could do their job in searching for him. And so it was a really great way that we could share that information really quickly, really up to date, give them the information that they needed, and that we were sure it was going to be seen by the people that needed it.
Right. Mary or Kirsten, do you have anything more to add, anything different?
Well, and price. I mean, you cannot beat cost of social media versus traditional media. And one thing that is really worth noting, at least at Hawk Mountain, is it is huge for me to have people that can help me do this. I have a number of volunteers who, as long as they're my friend on Facebook, I can add them as an admin, and they can help me update event information, make posts, whatever they feel comfortable with, as well as the rest of the staff. And that's a little bit different from using, for example, our website, where they don't use it enough, so they're uncomfortable, where a lot of people are comfortable with Facebook, so it's easier to get multiple administrators to help.
Yeah, I love, this is Kirsten, I love what Mary was saying about that getting multiple folks to contribute is one of the best ways to kind of get the most out of your time on Facebook and other social media platforms. We also kind of look at it as really the best option now to traditional marketing, which was, kind of interruption marketing, as marketing professionals call it, and now we're moving towards permission-based marketing, where our audiences are allowing us and really have more control over the content and information they receive on a daily basis.
Okay, and that's Get Outdoors PA has been using the idea of having different agencies managing our Facebook page on a weekly basis, and it gives some versatility and variety to our content because you're coming from a different perspective. And with the various flagship partners that Get Outdoors PA has, that's been beneficial. So, of course, the question that everyone is asking, because they're always asking it, is how do you spend the time on this? That's really, really tough. So, Kirsten, you want to start this time? How do you manage your time?
Well, manage, mismanage, I'm not sure.
Priorities.
It all depends on the day of the week and the other challenges and responsibilities going on. I think we probably everyone on the call could probably relate to having an awful lot going on and maybe not enough time. So I always like to emphasize that it's okay to kind of just dip your toe into social media. You don't have to dive in if you don't have the capacity or the time to do that. I think that you don't have to be on every social media channel every single day. In fact, some of the presenters mentioned that they have presence on other social media channels beyond Facebook, but they're not active, and that's okay. I try to create a routine where every morning I open up my email and check that, then I open up social media and check that, and maybe follow up after lunch and see what the engagement has been for the day.
Okay. Good. Mary?
Pretty similar. There really is no priority for social media. It's just something I try to work in when I can. And part of the helpfulness of having many people updating is that, especially with events, if there are people on the call that have a lot of outdoor events, the staff person or the volunteer who's personally invested in this event over that event will be certain that it's posted on Facebook and that there are reminders. So that really helps. But again, I sort of do it when I can, but I do also usually check in the morning just in case there's a message.
Right. Okay. And we will talk a little bit more about posting events later in the talk. So you'll have an opportunity to hear a little more about that. Brittany, do you have anything to add about your priorities and time?
Well, I'll go to the first question there with how do I manage time to be effective at social media is I develop a content calendar. Week by week I go through and I leverage parts that are already popular on social media, such as Throwback Thursday. So I'm able to share old photos that highlight historical stories from our past at the Game Commission, and just to share a little bit and educate people about that. But having Throwback Thursdays or fun quizzes and so forth on Fridays, and reminders about hunting seasons and migrations and so forth on Tuesdays is just a way for me to organize my thoughts and be able to develop content for the month.
Okay, and as you can see, we have one of your posts for Safe Saturday.
Yep.
So you said this is an example of that type of post. So
yeah, being able to share graphics like that too, that have a picture with the words right on them, is really great. Whenever people share, they seem to be able to get the message a little more clearly that way.
Right. Okay. So, folks, challenges. Mary, why don't you start first? What are some of your challenges?
Oh, well,
outside
of the time
media
issue, outside of limited time, one of my challenges is dealing with spam, and that's just a matter, again, of recruiting other staff and volunteers to keep an eye on the Facebook page. Every now and then, someone will insert, instead of a comment, an ad or a link to their page. Sometimes it's someone just being a jerk. And oftentimes the other commenters will control that itself. If it gets out of hand, I just delete somebody immediately. Arguments in the comments, it doesn't happen often, but anything controversial, just know that you have to keep an eye on it. Trying not to forget that you do get private messages through the Facebook page and responding to them. And remembering, at least at Hawk Mountain, we have very demanding viewers, and they will always call me on errors. That doesn't mean that I waste time posting something, but I know I always have to go back and fact check and make sure if a species name is spelled wrong, for example, they're going to let me know.
Okay, good points, Mary. Brittany, how about you?
With the Game Commission, we kind of have a tricky audience sometimes because we deal with hunting regulations and as well as all of the wildlife in Pennsylvania. And sometimes our audience members are one or the other, and they don't necessarily agree with the other group. So if I post somebody's harvest, hunting harvest that they had just taken a photo of and sent to us, and I share it, sometimes we'll get people that will start calling that person a name because they killed an animal or something like that. So sometimes we just have to be careful with making sure that it remains a family-friendly place, that it's educational. People, kids, and anybody that's coming to our website aren't going to be offended as far as poor language. So there's filters within Facebook that you can set to the level that you desire, as well as you can add your own words and just manually to check it. But that's something that we've experienced here at the Game Commission, just trying to keep it a family-friendly place.
Right, and that's certainly an interesting perspective and probably different than most of the other state agencies. So, Kirsten, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I could just add quickly, one of the challenges, it's the idea of having multiple contributors particularly to our Facebook page. It's a double-edged sword because I desperately need other folks out there, volunteers, fellow staff members, preserve managers, contributing content, particularly photos, but kind of policing and monitoring all that, making sure their messages are kind of on tone and they're not treading into controversial waters territory is sometimes challenging.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing those experiences. Now we're going to talk about posting and where do you find your content, and how do you have a variety, and some of the things that we have shown on your screen. We've got an example on here. Some of the things to remember that our speakers will talk a little bit more about is to make sure you represent your organization, not you personally. You want your posts to be approachable, personable, short, concise, as well as positive. So why don't we start with Brittany, and why don't you talk about how you deal with finding content and what types of posts are going to be seen by the largest audiences.
I try to always have my posts direct back to our website because I want our social media pages to be a waypoint and not the destination. On our website, they can get a lot more information, and they might be able to find different pages of more information of things that they're interested in. So I kind of use social media just to provide a quick snippet that might interest them and get them back to our website. So I also look at things seasonally for what to post. But yeah, just try and direct people back to our events and so forth that we have going on the website.
Good. Mary?
I have content all around me. I try to be inspired by what's happening at Hawk Mountain, the events, the nature that you can see right now always has a huge response from our followers and the people that are here. So I try to mix it up so that there is variety. Some of it goes back to our website, but not all. And some of it just gets people excited and wanting to be here.
Okay. Kirsten?
Well, I kind of try to follow approach when finding content is to not take things too seriously. It's okay to have a lighthearted approach. It's also okay to experiment. Pretty much every post I put up is essentially an experiment in what's more likely to elicit a response and engagement. Recently, I posted about a caterpillar found in the Amazon that looked like Donald Trump's toupee, and the response was overwhelming. Is that immediately related to Natural Lands Trust's mission to save and steward land? No, but it is, it's nature related and it's lighthearted and fun. I follow a lot of other organizations, like-minded organizations, as well as other nature-based organizations on Facebook, and I share their content. So I'm essentially recycling. I'm not inventing it all myself, and that really helps save a lot of time.
Okay. That's great. We've got some different highlights from your strategies up on the screen now. And then we have a couple of, this is an example of something that, Kirsten, I think this is what you've used?
Not quite what I've used, but I love this idea of kind of a series of images where you are inviting folks to engage with you and respond.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything else on these quiz posts? Have they been successful?
Yeah, that was a Game Commission post. We've found, just like Kirsten had said, that if you try and post something that can get a lot of engagement, they feel like they're invited to be a part of your organization. And then once they feel like that, you're able to share more information. For example, we would post this, what is it, of a close-up of a part of an image of an animal, and then later we would post the answer. After we posted the answer and already grabbed their interest, then we share a link where they can learn more information about that Pennsylvania animal. So just getting people involved in some way is important with social media because you do have that ability that you didn't have with, say, a press release or another form of traditional media.
Right. Now, Mary, I think this is something that you've used particularly.
Yes, this week.
This week. Okay,
yes,
this is
that's
really
a
up to date.
vireo nest in our garden. So, I mean, photos like this get the biggest response, and I know this isn't directly linking people back to our website, but the interaction is really positive. People get excited to be outside, to come here. We get a lot of shares. From those shares, people come back to the Facebook page, and hopefully we get new people coming back. So, yeah, people will show up and will ask about where is the Vireo nest. So we know just from our feedback that these photos work.
Okay. And I think that you mentioned, that you folks, the three of you have mentioned, that works better when you have a destination type facility where you're attracting people to come to your facility.
Exactly. It makes them feel connected, and a lot of people who follow us on Facebook don't even live in Pennsylvania anymore. Some of them live in a different country, but they're still supporters. And this is a great way to possibly inspire gifts. And, you know, that's one of those kind of long-range effects of social media.
I think that Mary has a great point with that. We found that actually at Natural Lands Trust we have 18 publicly accessible nature preserves, and having trail cameras or game cameras on the preserves actually give us a lot of really good photo fodder that elicits a lot of response and kind of keeps that top of mind awareness even for folks that don't live in the area or may never even visit us.
Okay. Well, that's those are some good points on that. The next thing we were going to talk about is posting an event, which is a strategy that some of you have used to really increase your visitation. So who would like to speak on that?
I can start. Posting an event is very simple. It's just a matter of clicking the event tab, add a new event. You can scroll back through past events and sort of recycle it. At least you used to be able to. Sometimes that changes. Always add a photo if you can. It's a little bit of a pain to find the right size photo that it fits in the banner, but then it displays nicely. It complements your event, and then you can share it.
This is Kirsten. I also would add to what Mary said that Facebook recently added a subscribe feature, and I think you're all seeing the screenshot of that. It's an opportunity for folks that like your page to subscribe, and they'll automatically be notified when there's an event that's occurring hosted by your page near them, geographically close to them. So it's actually working for you even when you're not trying to promote or share that event.
Okay. And I think this is another feature that I think, Kirsten, you wanted to talk about with inviting people.
Yeah, this is an interesting feature that not a lot of folks I've talked to have discovered on Facebook. So the secret is now out for those of you that are calling in. There's an opportunity for you to respond by simply clicking on the number of, you'll always get a counter on each post that will count how many folks have liked your post. And when you click on that, you have to be logged into Facebook or using Facebook as yourself, not as your page. And what will happen, you can see on these screenshots, you'll get a drop-down list of all of the individuals who've liked that post, and you can click the invite button next to each one, and they will get an individualized invitation to like your page. So it exponentially increases the number of page likers. That statistic will really grow. If you kind of do this once a day, I'll go back through old posts, click on the number of likers, and then invite them. It only takes a few seconds.
Okay. Brittany, do you want to add anything on either the invite feature or events?
Actually, I haven't really used the invite feature very much. We have used events for some field days, and it's had okay response, but I think that it works better for some that have an actual location for their organization, such as Hawk Mountain.
Right.
I will say that with Hawk Mountain, we have almost 30,000 followers, so there's a limit to how many people you can invite. And I think at some point, we have tons of events posted on our page, and I think it gets annoying to invite people every single time. So I stopped doing that. So, I mean, just a heads up, I'm not sure what the feeling is with the other presenters of kind of event invite overload, but I experienced that personally, and I prefer that our events, we reshare them and people opt to view them.
Okay. Well, that's good, and it probably depends too on the size of viewership and where you are in terms of getting your stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we were looking at that people are often interested in, and certainly was not something that I knew about before I started talking to you ladies, is the reach for our posts and what's most important to look at. Do one of you want to address this?
This is Kirsten. I can briefly mention this was kind of an interesting surprise when I got this study, which was released earlier this year, because in the past it was always photos, 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 cute animals, cute kids, butterflies, all that great stuff. And what we're finding now is that Facebook has changed the algorithm for what posts they share with your likers. Not everybody sees everything you post. And links are now getting the most organic reach. So again, that goes back to sharing content that other organizations have developed, or sharing links back to our website, Natural Lands Trust website. Videos is an interesting thing. Facebook is trying to kind of cut into YouTube's business a little bit. So videos can now be embedded directly onto Facebook, onto your page. And I think I wouldn't let that intimidate you. You don't have to be a videographer to go out and capture a few seconds. They can be very short, a few seconds of wildlife, or even I do some audio image recordings, video recordings of spring peepers in our wetlands, things like that.
Okay. And that really points to the insights, and I'll ask each of you. Brittany, why don't we start with you? How do you determine whether you're successful in what you're doing with social media?
Yeah, this was something that all of us kind of struggle with a little bit. We had chatted earlier, and I mean, you want to look at your number of likes and the total engagement with the comments and the shares. Personally, I think that shares are the most important measurement because by doing that, your post is going beyond just your audience. Those people that already like your page are taking that post and sharing it with their whole audience. So it's really getting the word out there even more. So I would say that that's what I put the most weight on whenever I'm looking at the analytics within Facebook or whatever analytics you're using through Hootsuite or whatever measurement tool you have.
Okay. Mary, do you have anything differing?
Well, we had talked a little bit yesterday that I honestly go a little more on gut instinct, and it's terrible to say, it's the truth. I mean, you could spend a lot of time looking at the insights. They're fascinating, but I ask someone else to help me with it. It's too much. It takes a little too much focus, but it is easy to look and get a sense of this post did really well over this. So it's easy to get a sense of what works for your organization.
Okay. Kirsten, do you have anything different to add?
I can echo Mary and Brittany's sentiments. I think that the insights can be overwhelming if you go down that rabbit hole too often and too far. But I will say they're useful for creating reports to colleagues within your organization, and also perhaps to your board, because they do give kind of marked measures of progress and growth. So one of the techniques that I think that some of you have mentioned is scheduling posts. What do you think is the efficiency and effectiveness of doing this? Do one of you want to give an opinion about that?
Well, as someone who does not schedule posts, this is Mary, I think it's genius and I need to do it. Just from talking to these two ladies, it makes so much sense. It's just a matter of getting myself organized to do that in advance, which isn't always possible. But if it's possible, that's definitely the way to go.
This is Kirsten. I think actually I was thinking about this since we had all chatted yesterday, and I was thinking more about how I schedule posts. It tends to be a way for me to meter out content that I'll find at one particular time. So as I said, I log in the morning. I may find a lot of really good content that I want to share, but I don't want to share it all within 10 minutes. And I'll be really barraging my Facebook page likers. So what I can do is meter that content out by scheduling the posts during the day or during the coming days. It's also a great way to help multiple users, multiple admins of our page know that other posts have been scheduled, and so likewise we won't kind of hit people over the head with multiple posts in a quick, short succession.
Right.
That's a good point. Sometimes it can be feast or famine, and like she had said, you don't want to share everything all at once, or you're going to see that a lot of people are unliking your page because you filled up their whole news feed. But I heavily schedule my posts. I just find it really useful to just take a day or so aside and just figure out. In Facebook, I schedule a month in advance, and that doesn't mean that I never check in then the rest of the month, or that I never post something that just pops up that day. I do that as well, but I find that by posting a month, all of us here have other job duties that we do as well as social media, so it's just a time saver in a way that I can be sure that social media has something that's going to be going out and reaching our audience, but I don't have to spend quite as much time frantically searching for something every morning.
Right. Okay. And we've also talked about paying, boosting your posts and paying for it. What have you found is effective or not about that?
Well, this is Mary. I've only tried this twice, and I need to do more of it because I found it extremely affordable. There's an unbelievable opportunity to target your audience, so you're getting exactly the kind of customer, donor, supporter, visitor you want. You can pick from a zillion different interests that can match whatever your event is, and it's really amazing. So it's worth it just to do a test and explore that. I did one with a photo contest, and I did one with a membership promotion going back to the site, and I was very pleased.
This is Kirsten. I do dabble in the ads. I like the fact that the return on investment is overwhelmingly positive in terms of as Mary said, it's very affordable. You can cap your ad program, so you can determine right from the start that you want to cut it off at $50 or $100 or more, and it's a great way to promote events for us because you can pay by. There's lots of options where Facebook will let you determine how you pay them, and we often do pay by click or pay by event response. So if folks see an event that we have coming up, they would indicate that yes, they're attending, and that's when Facebook will charge me for that user.
Okay, and that's one of the things we've discussed is if folks on the call, if participants on the call are looking for more specifics on how to do some of these things, that we could consider having a follow-up to this session to talk more specifically about the social media and addressing exactly how to do that. So we'll have an opportunity or give participants an opportunity to see if they want to ask for something like this. So Brittany, did you have anything to add before we move on?
The only thing that I would say is what not to do, I guess.
Okay.
I haven't used this function at the Game Commission, but in my previous position, I had used it to gain followers to a Facebook page that we had. But I don't really think that you want to be paying for your followers to just click through and see your page and possibly not even like it. The return on investment has to be worth that. So I wouldn't do it just for that, but if there's an event that you're going to be getting money, or if there's an event that you just really want a lot of people to be at to hear about what your organization has to share, I think that that's a lot more valuable than just getting people to come and see your Facebook page.
Right. Now, this is a subject that I believe Kirsten brought up as being something that some of us did not know anything about. Do you want to talk about claiming your Facebook pages?
Sure. Natural Lands Trust, as I think I mentioned, has quite a few physical locations. And so when I first began establishing our Facebook presence for the organization, I was finding that in addition to creating the main Facebook page for Natural Lands Trust, that there were already pages out there for our various preserves, for Stroud Preserve or Crow's Nest Preserve, that individual Facebook users had created. They wanted a way to share with their friends that they'd checked in at a specific location, or they were enjoying a hike there, taking a photo there. And so I found that rather than if I couldn't beat them, I could join them. And by claiming those pages that had already been created, I would be able to control the content, correct factual inaccuracies about perhaps the hours of operation or the address or phone number. And it's a really simple process. It used to be quite complicated, where you would have to produce some kind of utility bill to Facebook. You'd literally have to scan it and send it to a Facebook administrator. And now you simply need a publicly accessible phone number. You'll get a telephone call with a 4-digit code that you then key back in, and then you become the official admin for the pages that exist. It's also always good to check, if you're doing this, and anybody could check right after the phone call, if your organization or your sites have other pages out there with spelling inaccuracies or even duplicate pages that others have created. You can merge those pages to the official page that you control.
Okay. That's extremely helpful. I don't know, Mary or Brittany, if you have anything to add.
I don't. I've never done this. I will certainly check it. I know that there are pages with Hawk Mountain's name and other social media outside of Facebook, but yeah, I'm very interested in this.
I haven't had to claim any Facebook pages either. We merged a page that had, instead of Pennsylvania, it had PA Game Commission, but that was the only thing that we've done that was similar.
Right. Okay. All right. So we've reached a point here where we have questions and answers. There's already been one question that came from a park board member and a borough. And I just want to make sure that I read it out to all the participants, because I don't think that they have the opportunity to see the question. But she lives in a borough, would love to have a Facebook page for the park board, but the borough council has concerns about that, concerned about liability issues, which I think is probably a problem for in other communities as well, where you have people who maybe are more conservative or concerned about social media. So what kind of response do you have in that type of concern? I know, Kirsten, you answered already, written down, if you want to summarize that.
Yeah, I guess obviously, without kind of dismissing the Borough Council's concerns, I think those are legitimate concerns. But the bottom line is that social media is going to exist. There are going to be conversations out there about all of our organizations. So why not be the one in charge of that content so that you can respond to it? And I don't think it's any reason to be frightened. I think you can have a really good social media policy ahead of time for your organization. You can lay out how you're going to respond to what's called trolls, folks that are kind of trying to stir up the muck. And usually that's a pretty simple formula of just trying to take any inflammatory content offline, just encourage folks to contact you personally and take it off of the social sphere. So I would say it's probably going to happen anyway, and why not control the content?
Right. And Mary, you also had a comment.
I totally agree. It's, don't be scared. Just jump in and do it. If people are too nervous to even set up a page, nothing's going to happen. But if you have a page, you can use it to promote all of the good things that are happening. So, like Kristen said, it's just you want to be in control of that and be able to manage it. So go for it.
Okay. And we have another question with the invite feature. Do you find that people friend request you instead of liking your page, since the invitation request would come from the profile rather than the page?
I think we answered. Oh, I see.
I just wanted to make sure. Some of you have responded back, but I don't know that everybody else can see the question.
Oh, gotcha. When a request comes from, when I send as a human being, as Mary Linkovich, a suggestion that someone like Hawk Mountain, they will do that. And I can only do that if they're already my friend. If I'm sending it from Hawk Mountain, it comes from the organization, not as from me as an individual, if that makes sense. The same with the invitation to an event. If, as Hawk Mountain, I invite someone, that comes from Hawk Mountain.
Yep, I would echo that. You won't. No one can see an organization, a page's admins. That information is private, so they won't be able to track you down.
Now, I will say, just from my own personal experience, where my personal life and my Hawk Mountain life are very intertwined, many people on our Facebook page know the staff from either, just because I send out an email update, and sometimes my name is associated with the photos. And if you really follow the page, you'll know that Mary Linkovich is deeply involved with it. And I do get quite a few friend requests that when I see the mutual friends, they are other Hawk Mountain volunteers. If I look at their page, they are people who are interested in the outdoors. And, typically that's just a judgment call, and I'll often friend them. And that's up to you.
I think that's really interesting, Mary. You bring up a great point that I hadn't considered, but it really is, I think, helpful when you go into Facebook as an official organization's admin to kind of figure out ahead of time what your policy on liking folks related to the organization and not you personally is.
Right.
I kind of developed it as I go, and it's usually if I hang out with somebody outside of work, then I tend to accept friend requests.
Yeah, it's a judgment call.
Right. Brittany, I don't know if you've had anything to weigh in on. You did respond to Debbie's question about whether to jump in or not, or how to encourage Borough Council to deal with social media.
Yeah, I just agreed with their sentiments that the online conversation's happening whether there's an official page there or not, so it's best to be able to be a part of it and help to guide that conversation.
Okay. I'll give people more opportunity here for questions, but in the meantime, I would like to encourage participants to friend or like or follow Get Outdoors PA, or any of our panelists if you're in that area, either the Pennsylvania Game Commission or Natural Lands Trust or Hawk Mountain. On our social media platforms for Get Outdoors PA, that would be Facebook, which is really our priority right now, Instagram or Twitter. I also wanted to encourage you to remember that June 13th is National Get Outdoors Day, and Get Outdoors PA has kind of partnered with them and established a Go Day, we call it, for Get Outdoors PA Day, kind of adopted that terminology, and we promote being a part of Get Outdoors PA, and as well as offering events where ideally organizations will offer different types of instructional activities, opportunities for some of these for learning and celebrating the outdoors, and that's a great opportunity. And then we also promote it statewide. So we are recruiting Go Day participants or those who maybe already are planning something for June 13th. And they want us to help promote them, and you in turn use Get Outdoors PA logo with your materials and things. So, so if you are currently, as I talked about before, if you're currently a community partner for Get Outdoors PA, then terrific. I hope that you have had the opportunity to post events to our calendar. That's really an essential part of what we do. And the more programs you put on the calendar, the better the chances are that we'll feature them either through Facebook or on our website. If you're not a partner of Get Outdoors PA currently and you'd like to become one, you can apply online on our website, which is getoutdoorspa.org. Emily put it up on the screen for you. Does anybody else have any questions? Because if not, then we are going to close out the call and say goodbye. But thank you so very much. Thank you so much to Brittany Howell and Mary Linkovich and Kirsten Werner from myself and from Emily Gates of Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society for participating with the webinar and supporting Get Outdoors PA. And again, make sure you follow us on our social media platforms and try to stay engaged with our getoutdoorspa.org website. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Bye. Thank you.
Sam,
Yeah.
let me stop the recording.